Hey everybody, final thoughts time for Khora Rise of the Empire. But before I get to that, please remember this was a paid gameplay run through. And with that out of the way, I gotta say, this is fantastic. And there are so many things that I am so pleased about with this game. Where to start? Okay, let's just start with the actual development of this game because you may notice there on the screen, the designer of this game is called Headquarters Simulation Game Club. Because apparently, Khora came out several years ago. It had a different name like Domination of the Polis or something like that. Polis was in the title. And basically, the Headquarters Simulation Game Club is a group of, I believe, Tokyo University students who get together and play games and design games and publish them themselves in super tiny little print runs only in Japan. And, so this came out a few years ago. It got some decent buzz. People were saying, hey, how can I get a copy of this game? Well, if you live in Japan and you picked up one of the only 500 copies, well, you're in luck. Otherwise, tough luck, pal. But I love the fact that big name publisher Yellow swept in, talked to them, got the rights to publish it, gave it a very lavish reprint because, I don't know, I'm sure some people will say that it looks kind of like a spreadsheet game or something like that, but they did not have to go the extra route into doing custom wooden pieces for all the things and tool layer boards and even dual layer boards to be able to plug your stuff in. Plus, they did all this extra research into the actual history that the game is portraying. I think the production is great. I think it's a lovely looking game. Sitting here in person, I think maybe it's one of those ones where you have to sit down in front of you and just say, oh, it all just fits together. It's muted, it's understated, but it just has kind of a nice, warm, inviting feel to it that I really like the look of. I mean, these could have been cards instead of tiles, all your action and stuff like that. So, and then all the unique art on all the objectives and the cards. So I think the production is fantastic. And more importantly, what I'm really excited about is I believe this is the first game from publisher Yellow's expert line of games. Because if you know Yellow at all, they produce really wonderful productions of games, but they've always focused on just very lightweight party style games and, family / gateway games. That's pretty much where their wheelhouse is. And I hope this Khora, I hope it's successful so that the powers that be Yellow say, oh, well, maybe we should do more of this. Maybe we should find more interesting little gems that have not been picked up and, give them, a nice leveling up in terms of presentation and get them out there to the world because this game is really sharp. Although it is interesting. This is a civilization game at its heart, and there's a lot of them out there. And civilization games tend to be very big, heavy affairs, really complex stuff, a lot of moving pieces. Through the ages, kind of set the stage for that, and civilization before that, and then there's nations and tapestry and all of that. Core is a little bit different. It has the feel of a civilization game with lots of stuff going on. Although, to be fair, this would be a civilization game that does not have a world map. The world map is kind of abstracted by, go out and, conquer these nameless territories and get knowledge chips that let you advance your society and all that. There's no player versus player stuff at all. In fact, this is very much, for me, a good thing, a multiplayer solitaire game. The only place where players really butt heads is if they both want to conquer the same place at the same time. But, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, this has the feelings that I get out of a lovely, big, heavy, like Nations is in my top 10 games of all time, but that's a complex game that goes for many, many hours and has a lot of stuff. Khora is, I'm not going to call it a gateway game. This is the definition of a gateway plus style game. You have friends and loved ones who you have kind of brought into the hobby with your Ticket to Rides and your Carcassones and whatever other, gateway games. There's so many of them out there. And you're thinking, well, what could I do next? Well, if you personally like civilization games, you're not going to take them to Through the Ages. You are not going to do that because that will fail. Or, well, maybe you're a really amazing teacher. But this is a great next step because normally I have found most gateway games, the most successful ones, tend towards certain things like worker placement, like Stone Age or Lords of Waterdeep. Those are really great next step games. Because there's something just so immediately easy to understand about workplace. I got a worker, I put it here, I do the thing, I do another. Oh, you took the thing, I can't do the thing. A full-fledged, or not full-fledged, but something that captures the feel of the experience of a civilization game as a gateway, That's not that common. And I think that makes this kind of special. I could certainly, if I were still working in the video game industry and every lunch I was trying to convince more and more of my coworkers that play board games with me. Stop playing all the first-person shooters and the MOBA games and whatever at lunch. Come play this. This is a great, because, I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on. All these tracks you're trying to pursue, the conquest, the politics, all of these level ups, the special powers everybody gets. I mean, do not dismiss these cards. There's a ton of variety in them, and these have an almost Agricola-style feel to them because, over the course of the game, you'll have several, but in a given game, you'll only get a few of them into play. I mean, it's a big work to get 3 or 4 of them into play. And so trying to find synergy between them and whatever it is that your, society, your city-state is good at is very satisfying. So, well, I was about to say this is an amazing gateway game that does something that most gateway games don't do. It really makes it stand apart, but it is still interesting and compelling for a more hardcore game geek like myself and Jen. We both really enjoyed it too. This is a keeper. I didn't mean to bury the lead there. If I had one complaint, it is about its use as a gateway game. It is the fact that the first thing you do, if you're trying to sit down and teach people how, hey, you thought Carcassonne was neat. Oh, you like Era of Antiquities? You like the TV show Rome? Well, let's try this Khora game. It's awesome. And then the first thing you have to do is draft. Here's 5 cards. Figure it out. Go. That's terrible. That is an awful way to start off a gateway game, and I really do think the developers missed a trick. This game should have every card should have had a little symbol in the bottom right corner, and there's like 4 different, there's a bunch of, just A, B, C's, and D's. And it says, hey, the first time you're playing this with people, literally, just give one player all the D cards, 5 D cards, give one player 5 C cards, one player, or whatever. Or maybe even just the individual city-states. Hey, if you're Olympia, take these 5 cards and skip the draft. Because the worst thing you can do is, when teaching people how to play, is, here you go, 5 cards. Let me teach you the entire game up front so you can decide what cards to take. That's one misstep. And in all honesty, if I were taking this out into the world for real and trying to use it as a Gateway Plus game, I would just say, hey, look, here's 5 cards at random. You might have gotten screwed because you got cards that don't really work well with who you are, but don't worry, it's just a learning game. The next time we'll do a draft, but I think they could have done a little bit better to ensure that, hey, no matter what, if I have all the D cards, I've got a card for everything. I could do a little military, I could do a little this, I could do a little of that. That would be a really great way to further I think the true core nature of what makes Khora special. A game that captures all the wonderful feels of a Civilization game, but in a game that plays in, as a 2-player game, under an hour, which is awesome, and is something that you can get up and running very quickly with people who are still new to the hobby. I think that is a very special thing, and this game delivers in spades. And if I wanted to continue on, I wish, in the same way that I wish they'd kind of dumbed it down just a tiny bit for the gateway, get rid of that draft. In general, get rid of drafts. Drafts at the beginning of any game are just kind of crappy when it boils right down to it. At the very least, for the first couple times you play, get some way around that. Developers, just in general, I implore you, stop relying on drafts. Stop making players do all the work to ensure that they have a balanced opening hand of cards. Anyway, sorry, that's totally as an aside. So I could have seen a little bit of work done for there. On the other hand, on the heavy side, I could have seen a couple more things that I would have liked to done to this game to appeal more to the hardcore gamer geek. Specifically, there are some things, like if you end up getting a bunch of cards, you might find, I wasted time getting these cards and I just didn't get the cards I need. I love multi-use cards. I would love to say, hey, you know what? Anytime you want, you can burn 2 cards to get a philosophy. So suddenly the cards are multi-use. That would be amazing. And by the same token, you might have, over the course of the game, just rolled low a lot and just gotten yourself a lot of population. Now that's great to get the achievement, but once you've got there, what if for the rest of the game you roll high and you don't need to use them and you don't get a card that uses them, a politics card, so they're worthless? Why can't you say, hey, anytime I want, I can sacrifice 3 population to get a coin? Something like that. Or maybe 4. I don't know what the balance would be. A couple more little things like that you wouldn't put into this game as a gateway because they would add a lot more complexity, a lot more variability, a lot more, surprising depth to the play. But I could see the advanced variant rules doing some things like that. Hey, 2 cards turn into a wisdom. Hey, 4 population turn into a coin. So players can pull off really interesting, cool combo style stuff. I would have loved to have seen something like that. I think the game would improve for it, but even without it, I mean, I honestly was having a blast. It was the first time I played Olympia and Thebes. It was the first time I'd had this particular combination of cards and this particular combination of events and all that. Khora is great. And again, fingers crossed, this signals not a shift, because, yellow is very popular and does a really great job of gateway and party style games. But I think they're capable of a lot more, and I think Khora, Rise of an Empire, shows it. And those are the final thoughts, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Have a very nice day. Talk to you later. Hold on. It occurs to me. I should say one more thing. Because it doesn't bother me at all, but I am sure there are going to be some folks out there who are ticked off by these things. Thematically, I think they make perfect sense. Hey, you never know exactly what level of support you're going to get from the hoi polloi, from the masses, and sometimes they just won't let you do what you want to do, which means you better have citizens in your back pocket that you can influence to do what you want to do. Some people will find it very frustrating that the dice. I don't mind at all. People that say, Rahdo, you complain about dice all the time. I complain about roll to resolve. I make my choices, I know what I want to do, and then I roll the die and see if the die will let me do it. I hate that. But if I roll the die first and then, what am I going to do with this die? Oh, it's only a 4. Am I going to burn those resources to turn it into a 5? Or, no, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to turn it into a 3 and do trade. I wasn't even planning on that. I love games where I roll dice right up front, and then based on what they do, that determines how it becomes another piece of the puzzle I have to solve to be at peak efficiency. So I really love them. About my only complaint, again, would be what I said before, that, hey, you know what? The main stay against them is getting more population. What if I get a bunch of population and then I never need them? That's why I'd like to turn excess population into coins. I'd like to turn excess cards into wisdom. Something like that. But anyway, I'm sorry. It occurred to me in the back of my mind, I suspect there will be people who hate the dice. Learn to love them. They're fun. I mean, there is going to be, as a leader of a city-state, you cannot, with perfect accuracy, anticipate the whims of your people. And sometimes they're going to push you one way or another. And then the thing is, yes, a low-value dice are implicitly weaker than high-value dice, but low-value dice always gives you population. No matter what, you can always get population or philosophy, and those are powerful. It's the equivalent of Castles of Burgundy. The dice will not give me what I want. Oh, okay, they'll give me a worker, and then that means next time I roll the dice, I can use these workers. So it's the exact same idea. It works great in Burgundy. I think it works great in Khora. My hat's off to the nameless university students at Headquarters Simulation Game Club. You guys and gals did a fantastic job. And thank you to Yellow for bringing it to my table, because Jen and I really like Khora, Rise of an Empire. And that's it, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Have a very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye.